Okay, let's turn to the BBC saga now. Big news today that Trump is suing the BBC for $1 billion in damages. This after it doctored footage of him from January 6 to make it look like he was inciting the Capitol Hill riot. He's also demanding a full retraction and a public apology. For more on this now, let's bring in tonight's panel, former Speaker of the House, Bronwyn Bishop, and Bill Shorten's former Chief of Staff, Cameron Milner. Great to see you both as always. So, Bronwyn, I think this is great that the President is taking on the biased left media, not just with words, but with legal action.
Absolutely. But I mean, what worries me is that the ABC and the BBC are so closely linked, always have been. And for the BBC, the rot set in with the Panorama programme on Princess Diana when she was presented with false information to persuade her to do the interview, and it was covered up for decades, and they knew. And that's when the rot began. It's been followed by a whole sequence of covers up, whether it's people who are pedophiles, with a whole range of them. And there's just this murky feel. And culturally, if they don't clean up their mess in Britain, you've got the problem that they are, in fact, almost commanded to be the main outlet of news because you pay a tax to pay it. We used to have a tax here. Gough Whitlam got rid of that.
One good thing you did, at least. Cameron, now, even from Australia, we've been able to see just how biased the BBC is, particularly on issues like Israel. And that was one of the stories that was exposed. And I had the journalist behind that story, behind this whole expose on the show last night. But it was found that BBC Arabia was spreading Hamas propaganda.
Well, isn't it terrible? And look, the BBC should be so much better. As a public broadcaster, they should be able to tell the truth and tell the truth without fear or favour. But they're not. They're completely, utterly biased. They're captured of the left. And that's the real problem. And isn't it good? Isn't it good they've finally been caught out and someone's actually going to take them to the courts and potentially cost them dearly? And maybe after that they'll listen. Because goodness knows they haven't listened to the complaints of all the rest of us who say you're biased and not doing the right thing on things like Israel, on ABC or the BBC. So if it takes a Trump lawsuit, well, so be it.
Yeah. Bronwyn, you mentioned the ABC a minute ago. Well, Chris Kenny's revealed that the ABC also edited Donald Trump's January 6th speech to cut out the same part that the BBC removed. Have a look.
After this, we're going to walk down and I'll be there with you, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
So they removed the same part as the BBC did. And then it's also emerged that insiders on the ABC also aired a doctored image of Liberal Senator Jane Hume, and they just claimed that that was satire. I mean, satire on the most serious political show of the week. Bronwyn, do you think there should be an inquiry into the ABC's bias, as Sarah Henderson has tonight suggested?
Yes, I think it'd be a very good idea. But for a long time, for years, I've been calling for the Charter, which is in the Act, to be made enforceable. Currently, it says that there are no legal ramifications flowing from that Charter. It needs to be enforceable and for people to take action against the ABC in the courts when they breach it. That would be a good start. And I hear Sarah's now saying she'd be in for a rewrite of the Act. Well, I don't care how you express it, but if we can get that Charter to be enforced, that would be a beginning, because the culture between the ABC and the BBC is very, very close.
Very similar.
And it's unhealthy. It needs to change.
Yeah, damaging for democracy. Now, big news today that the International Olympic Committee is set to ban men who were born as biological men from competing in women's sport. Now, Cameron, we've seen scandals in recent years, including at the 2021 Games. Laurel Hubbard, who was previously a man named Gavin, competed alongside women in weightlifting. And this has been just major issues. So this finally seems like a common sense position from the IOC.
Oh, look, too late, though. Too late, Sharri. I mean, this is a simple debate. There are men and there are women. There's men's sports and there's women's sports. You know, that's it. And the Olympics should be celebrating men and women in sport, full stop. This trans situation is only impacting women. It doesn't impact men in sport, only women. And that's the tragedy of the trans movement in the Olympic sports and wider sports as well.
Because the issue is, Bronwyn, that there might have been some women who have missed out on medals because they were competing against transgender women who were born men and have a physical advantage.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. They have. Totally unfairly. And thank goodness they've got a new person in charge who campaigned on this being the case. And for now common sense and sanity, dare I say, has been returned, because it's just been so unfair on women, and it is here. You see it in soccer, in various games where women are injured because they're allowing men to play in women's sports. It's just nuts. So I just find that leadership from the Olympics is definitely needed. Let's hope. But let's be honest, it began with Donald Trump, because he said no visas coming into the games in America for trans athletes.
No, he's. I think a lot of political leaders could take a leaf out of his book when it comes to actually acting and taking some tough decisions. I'll talk about that in a minute.
And I'm also sick to death of being asked, what is a woman? What about we ask the question, what is a man?
Yeah.
How do we know you're a man? Tell us why you're a man. Why does it always fall on women?
Good point. Very good point. Cameron, I want to turn to another strong column that you've written in the Nightly, where you talk about how it is time the Liberals dumped the commitment to net zero. Now, just last week, Cameron, I played your comments a minute ago. You were telling us about the scare campaign Labor is going to run. So are you saying that the Liberals should dump it because it would be better for Labor, or do you think this would actually be advantageous to the Liberals?
I think it's advantageous to the Liberals. I mean, the Liberals are languishing at 24% primary. They're playing Me Too politics on climate change. There's no contrast and there's no strength to their message. And they're about to split the coalition asunder. So no. I mean, in the end, let's not go after the word salad that is net zero. I mean, it is not sacrosanct, for goodness sake. It's a term, it's a slogan. And let Albo defend the hundreds of billions of dollars he wants to spend and put into intergenerational debt to get his green dream to get up. Let Albo defend it. Let him actually have a contest of ideas. No, the coalition should be about climate change responsibly. Climate change should be fought, and that's no problem at all. But to bind us to a net zero plan, which is Albo's plan, he needs to explain that net zero isn't zero cost, Sharri.
The question is, Bronwyn, do you think there is someone in the coalition who can mount the case, who can have this fight? You need a really strong performer.
Yep. I think someone will emerge. And I think Cameron had an excellent phrase in his article when he said, you need someone with a bit of mongrel, because you do. And we had the same problem in 2009, when we had to fight very hard to get the votes up to get Tony Abbott elected by one vote. There were still the people who were the greenies, the hangers-on to that issue, but they had to fall in line, and that's what we need now. People know they're hurting, and I think the Nationals came up with 3 very good words: better, cheaper, fairer. Because from those 3 words, you can have spin-off a lot of policies that says, this is how we'll deal with it. So I just think that they're finally on the right track, and that the leader who comes out, let's see how they go once they've got the position, not attached to the Labor Party anymore, but have the freedom to go out and fight for it, and watch the individuals go out and fight for it.
All right, Bronwyn Bishop, great to see you as always. Cameron Milner, thank you so much.